Computer. All right. Welcome to the Men Who Shine show. I'm here with one of my favorite shiny men. And I guess we got another little furry guy back there, Nietzsche. This is Khalil Rafati. He is a high school dropout, a convicted felon, a former heroin and crack addict, turned inspirational speaker, author, and health and wellness entrepreneur. He's published 2 books, I Forgot to Die and Remembering to Live, Lessons I Learned Crawling Out of Hell. He is the founder and owner of Malibu Beach Yoga and SunLife Organics, which is one of my favorite places in Austin. If you are ever in Austin, you must go there. It's a rapidly growing chain of health food cafes with locations in California, Texas, and Arizona. He's also founded Riviera Recovery, which is a transitional living facility for drug addicts and alcoholics, and is a board member of the Tashi Lhunpo Monastery, as well as the Siddhartha School Project. Khalil believes we are to love and accept ourselves exactly as we are, and to make a vow to get 1% better every day, no matter what. He reminds us that we are the authors of our own stories and asks us, why not become the heroes of them? So welcome, Khalil.
Wow. I think that's the best introduction ever. That was really cool.
That's all you, brother, man. You're paving the way, shining the light. So,
Nietzsche, did you hear all that? Did you hear how important I am?
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny because I'm so driven, and I feel like there's so much stuff I want to do and I'm going to do that oftentimes I get very myopic or tunnel vision, or just extremely focused on the task at hand. And as you were rattling all that stuff off, most people will do a few of those things. You nailed just about everything that that I've managed to accomplish in, it'll be 20 years, June 18th. So it was, that was exciting. I also just did a huge shot of apple cider vinegar with Carolina Reaper peppers and garlic and onion and a bunch of other herbs inside of it, because I wanted a boost of energy so I could be, the goal of these things is if you can help one person, if you can inspire one person,
yes,
then we've accomplished our goal. So I didn't want to have caffeine because it's too late in the afternoon and I don't want to disrupt my sleep tonight. And I was like, gosh, what can I do to just give myself, I'm like, oh God, I have the perfect thing. So I grabbed, I think it's called Kettle Fire. I'm not sure, but I did a shot of it, and it's got the peppers in it, which, create a bit of an analgesic feeling, but it also increases blood flow and just really wakes you up.
Okay. So is that your own, is it your own concoction that you made, or is Kettle Fire its own?
We used to make it. We used to have our own shot. I can't remember what we called it. I think we called it like, it was something, it was like the habanero tonic. I don't know, but this is an even hotter version, and it's awesome. And apple cider vinegar is really, really good for you.
I do it usually daily, the apple cider vinegar.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I haven't paired it with is it a habanero, or what kind of?
No, this is Carolina Reaper. So the one that we made for the public was habanero with onion, garlic, cayenne pepper,
yes,
ginger, lemon, and a bunch of other stuff. This one I'm going to screenshot, and I'm going to send you a pic of it. This one is not for the public. This is like super intense. And you can get it off Amazon. I like to do it typically before I go into the sauna in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah. So the little green tea extract and curcumin extract with a shot of this, and man, feel really good.
That'll wake you up for sure.
Yeah. I sound like such a drug addict right now.
No, I mean, I'm the same way, right? Like, in terms of like, where's the supplement? Like, we gotta have, because I'm coming up on 5 years.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit behind you if you're coming up to 20. But our date, I think mine is the 21st of June. Yeah, June 21st. Well, it's 2018, but so if you're coming up on 20, then you're what, 2003?
Yeah, June 18th, 2003.
Wow, that's amazing, man. Congratulations.
It's crazy. I mean, it's just the power and grace of a living, loving God.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that means, I have no idea. I mean, my when I was coming up on 5 years, I was thoroughly convinced that God was a woman, and I prayed to a woman. I even had a statue that I got when I went off to India. I still have it, and I was thoroughly convinced that God was a woman. Um, I went through so many different. God, I hung out at the Hare Krishna Temple on Venice Boulevard
Okay.
in LA. I went to the Self Realization Fellowship for a while, and
Yes.
Kriya Yoga and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the Kabbalah Center for a while and did that whole jam. And I don't know, after like 10 years, 12 years, I just stopped trying to figure it out. I realized I was never gonna figure it out. God is God. There's a creator of all this, and whatever that creator is, if it's even a thing, you know, some people like to say it's an energy. I don't know. It became very popular for a while to say like, yeah, I'm not really religious. I'm like more like spiritual. And like, honey, it's 3 o'clock in the morning and we're at an after hours. How fucking spiritual could you be?
Right.
But no judgment.
Right. Yeah. I'm super spiritual as long as like psychedelics are involved.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
kind of I kind of gone through that phase as well. So if you have kind of an addictive pattern, addictive tendencies, we want to, and I feel I'd be curious, to get your perspective on, this notion of healthy addictions, right? Like, when you talked about this in your book, and I loved your book, by the way, and I was just like, oh my God, I feel like I know you, right? And that's kind of the plus side, the plus side and the downside to writing a book is like everyone kind of knows you, but you don't get to know them in the same way.
Yeah.
But anyway, I really appreciated the portion of your story where you were living in the some sort of transitional house where you started, really started with the smoothies and the supplements and figuring out different, how different things really react to our bodies and how we can actually make sobriety easier on our bodies chemically by
Yeah.
really fortifying. And so that's kind of my standpoint, where it's like, are you getting plenty sleep? Are you getting plenty of water? Are you supplementing? Are you eating shit? Are you eating processed shit? Like all those, to me, like sobriety is kind of like a mental health game for me, as opposed to kind of the morality 12-step thing. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
To each his own, and if it works, keep working it. But I found a lot of freedom in, tending to my own health, as a means to kind of strengthen myself. Oh, this is a new one.
This is Krishna.
Krishna. So you've got Nietzsche and Krishna. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's so cute. So, okay. So I'm curious, because a lot of, the people in my network, a lot
Go
of
ahead.
people, oh, is that you? What's up? What's up?
Sorry, I just had my computer just decided that I was trying to ask it to do something, which it's been doing lately. Mercury is in retrograde. Please continue.
Yeah, so I like to say, hey, we're bigger than Mercury, and the universe is bigger than Mercury. And I understand, we all have cycles and stuff like that. But it's why I really appreciate following you is, this conversation that you seem open to have around vulnerability and shame. And, in your book, just, kind of vomiting all your story, because you can come out on the other side, getting to that kind of rock bottom. And then, I noticed in your book, it's like, oh, I thought this was rock bottom, and oh no, that was rock bottom. Oh no, that was rock bottom. Okay, now this is so, I'm curious, like, how was like your rock bottom of the rock bottom of the rock bottom, when you're in that, you're kind of covered in leaves and you're feeling like, you're officially done. Like, what made that experience different for you as opposed to the other in and out of rehab, in and out of other rock bottoms? I'm curious why that experience was different for you.
I think the initial rock bottoms were when I still had a significant other, I still had a car, I was still 150 pounds, and then I didn't have a significant other, and then I didn't have a car eventually, and then I didn't have a roof over my head eventually, and then I was 140 pounds, and then I was 130 pounds, and then, you know, I had my first overdose, and then I had my third, and then I had my fifth, and then, so for me, rock bottom was rock bottom. And then I got a shovel and I started to dig. And then I got a pickaxe and I started to dig more. And for me, luckily, I thank God for my bottom. I don't wish that pain and that suffering on anyone. For me, it was absolutely, absolutely necessary. And I think probably the only reason that I never went back, you know, a lot of people say that relapse is part of sobriety. If relapse was a part of my sobriety, I would be dead. I'm not trying to be dramatic. I didn't snort cocaine. You can relapse and snort cocaine, and you might end up with some really horrible repercussions, but you're probably not going to die. Or you can go back, you can go back and you can drink, relapse, and, you know, you might end up crashing into a family of 5 and killing them. So I'm not saying that horrible shit can't happen, but if you shoot heroin and cocaine as your DOC, then if you are sober for a period of time and you know that that's what ultimately you would go back to, it's almost a certain imminent death. So I don't know. Somebody asked me the other day, like, well, you know, how did you not relapse? And I didn't relapse because I don't sit around and wonder if I can have a glass of wine or if I can smoke some weed and maybe I'd be okay with it. I just met with somebody who I love, who called me up and said, "Hey man, I just got out of rehab. I've been getting high for the last 5 years." And I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, "Yeah, I was smoking weed and I wasn't telling anybody. And I always felt guilty and I felt shame. And then I kept hearing about how all these people were doing ketamine assisted therapy. And I'm like, oh, cool. And so you did it?" And he's like, "No, I scored a bunch of ketamine and I just did like a huge amount of I'm like, fuck. It hurt my heart, you know, to hear about that. I never questioned whether I could get away with having some beers or smoking a little weird. That never crossed my mind. The first 10, 12 years of my recovery. As I got closer to like 14, 15 years, I remember I was talking with my ex-girlfriend, and I was like, I'm actually pretty certain I could have a glass of wine now. I'm certain I could smoke some pot if I liked pot. And but what if I was wrong? Like risk versus reward. Right. So I've built this incredible life that I no longer feel compelled to escape from. I really want to chance fucking that up by drinking some wine. First of all, I don't like wine. And weed, I could take it or leave it. You know, that's not really something I fantasize about. But on a frustrating day like today, where, you know, things weren't really going my way, you know, the thought that we're now talking about this, the thought of like being able to spend a couple of days in oblivion, totally numb, not eating, not sleeping, but just laying in peace, you know, the thought of that, like, that's kind of interesting. But again, I don't want to fucking die. I don't want to die. I want to keep living this amazing life.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm definitely grateful you're here and you're like, you know, just really being that example for, you know, not just people in the recovery community, you know, but for a lot of us, you know, who are looking to that, you know, get 1% better every day, no matter what. So, you know, kind of with that being said, and, you know, kind of I went down your laundry list of accomplishments. how do you balance being content and happy and at peace with that 1% better every day?
Starting out with gratitude, either just saying out loud what I'm grateful for, or doing a walking gratitude list, which is really fun and probably one of my most often used tools. Just, thank you, God, for the roof over my head. Thank you, God, for the clean water that I get to bathe in. Thank you, God, for my friends. Thank you for my perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect love. I get into an attitude of gratitude for a multitude of reasons. One of them is because we are magnets. Whether we like it or not, we're magnets. So if we're thinking negative shit and we're angry, we're going to attract negative shit and angering situations. If we are in an attitude of gratitude over even just the most basic things, which we don't, we forget that over half the people living on this planet are going to try and have to get by with less than $2 today. Most of them do not have clean water. Most of them do not have clean water, not just to bathe in, but clean water to drink. I saw a video the other day on Instagram of this little boy who, did not look great and was standing in line with his parents. And they were, I believe they were in Africa, just based on how they looked and what they were wearing. And there was a man there that had just cracked open the well for the first time. And he was giving this boy clean water, and like the boy would not stop drinking it. And the mom tried to grab the boy away because she was embarrassed. And the man that was not from there, clearly not from there, started laughing. And he said, no, 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 it's okay. And he was taking the water and putting it on top of the kid's head. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm upset because the Defender that I bought my girlfriend, the custom wheels that I ordered from the United Kingdom, they didn't send the lug nuts with the 22-inch wheels that I ordered. And I was at the wheel shop and the guy's like, I'm sorry, I can't put these on. I didn't blow up at him because it wasn't his fault, but I got in my car and I was just like, fuck, I can't fucking believe this is happening. Like, dude, there's people that don't have clean water to bathe in or drink. There's people that don't have food right now. There are people that haven't eaten for days, and many of them are going to starve to death. So gratitude is super, super important. Once I'm in that attitude of gratitude, then I start to apply the principle of getting 1% better every day. And it works. Most days it works great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always encouraged by the example that at least you put out on social, because it is important for us to have that perspective shift, right? And to hear these things, because sometimes we can get lost, and myself included, I can get lost in the minutia of my own privilege, right? Like, like my problem was, oh, this car is, like the paint is chipped and it's going to be another 5 days, and boo-hoo, the money's going to be longer than I thought it was going to be. Like these things are like, you mentioned the tunnel vision before. It's kind of like expanding out and looking around can really, help us. So what are some of the things that you do? I'm curious, because I always feel like, oh, I'm not doing enough, I'm not giving back enough, or I'm not doing these to kind of, because I also acknowledge we don't live in it's not a level playing field. Like,
right,
where you're born, like you have no say over where you're born, where anybody was born, what you're, so what are some of the things that you do to I guess to level the playing field for others? I guess being on this board members of these other facilities and stuff is probably one of the things, but I'm curious if there's anything else that you do.
Yeah, there is. I mean, I'll answer that because you're asking and it's relevant for people listening. I typically don't. My philosophy is do good things and don't get caught. Right? Like be like
I love
yeah.
that.
It was something that was taught to me by, I used to go to this men's group in the Valley. It was an all men's group, and it was a bunch of old guys that had their pants up to their torsos. I mean, up to their sternums practically. And they were just hardcore AA guys. And they they would constantly say to me, like, when you see trash, pick it up, put it in the garbage. When you're finished with your grocery cart, even if it's raining, turn it back, take it back to the front and put it in the thing. Don't look around to see if anyone saw you do that. If you have money, share that money.
Yeah.
And it's not your money anyway, it's God's money. So if you see somebody that's hungry, give them money, and don't worry about if they're going to use it for drugs, because you would have used it for drugs. So just pump the brakes on the judgment. And so I go out of my way to try to be the man that God intended me to be. In terms of very specific stuff, I had to just pick something. So I picked Tunnels and Towers, which I think is a great organization. They give 95% of all the money that goes in to build free homes for people that have lost limbs, or people, veterans, firefighters, police officers. If they die in the line of duty, Tunnels for Towers will buy their family, their surviving family members a home that they can live in for free. Wow. So I love that one. I give to that one. I give to the I don't even know how you say it, ASBC, like whatever. Every quarter, I just have my CFO help me and through my company, donate to those organizations. And then I picked one that is probably, pretty controversial, and maybe, I don't know, somebody would get mad at me for donating to this, but the guy that started Sea Shepherd, I don't know if you know the organization Sea Shepherd. Mm-hmm. It's like they're pirates. They're literally pirates, and they go and they ram whale boats, like boats that are trying to kill whales, or boats that are trying to like kill dolphins. These guys go and fucking literally like ram them and destroy them, and they're actual pirates, and they're funded by very wealthy people who don't want to see whales dying or dolphins dying for no reason. And the rebel in me, the guy that's born on October 7th, which is the day of defiance, the guy that has identified most of my life with rebels and outlaws. Yes. I donate to that organization every quarter, and it fucking feels good. And that's what I do. But you and whoever's listening, aside from my CFO, you guys are the only people that know that, because again, I was taught to do good stuff and don't talk about it, because it takes the magic away. So
it does. I've noticed that. Like it's like your little, when I do something, it's like between me and the recipient, if there is one. Yes. And anonymous, I've done a couple of anonymous things that are just really, really, it's like fun. It's like almost like a Secret Santa situation. And then when you kind of,
the charge stays with you. It stays with you.
The what stays with you?
The charge of it stays with you. Like if you do something really good for somebody, especially if it's somebody that can't do anything for you, can't do, like,
yes,
like hypothetically speaking, of course, like when you're leaving your hotel at the end of your trip, at the end of your vacation, and you see the housekeeper in the hall, just fold up 100 so you can't really tell what it is, and walk up to one of those housekeepers and say, "Oh, here, I just want you to, have a nice day," and get away from them as fast as you can before they do that whole thing. Like, "Oh my God, sir, thank you." You know what, like, avoid that. Get into the elevator without any reaction. And you get to take that with you. You get to take that experience, or again, hypothetically speaking, if you're at a restaurant, you ever see a couple struggling, maybe they have a small child, maybe they're a newlywed, maybe it's, two dads trying to figure out how to raise a child, or two moms trying to figure out how to raise a child, and the child's being rambunctious. And I can't imagine that type of pressure of adopting a child and having that child like not behave in a way that other people see fit in a public place, and quietly ask the waiter or waitress or whatever the political correct term is these days, to bring you their check, and don't tell them, and pay for their check. Maybe it's an elderly couple. Maybe it's you know, a couple of men with a child, or a couple of women with a child. Pay for their check without them knowing, and get out of the restaurant before they find out. And you will take that energy with you, and that energy will grow. And my guess is, when they find out, then that will light a spark within them. And we all know about the butterfly effect. So this is something that I'm super passionate about doing, versus, you know, some fancy movie star wants to come to Austin to look at the new Discovery property, and they want to meet up with me, and I take them to ABBA and I treat them to dinner. That doesn't mean shit. It's cool. I felt like a rock star. Everyone was staring, like all the waiters and waitresses now treat me different at ABBA.
Okay.
But am I really helping anyone?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The previous scenario that I described is much more impactful and much more powerful. And besides, the famous movie star with the supermodel wife can afford their own fucking meal. I'm still going to treat them. Don't get me wrong. I'm still a pretentious asshole, but I try to go out of my way to do things that are thoughtful and meaningful for other people.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, I don't know if you've seen that episode of Friends where they're talking about there's no such thing as truly being selfless, because even in our giving and even in our generosity, like we get the good feeling, right? Like, is it even possible to not get the good feeling? You know, it's not, but, and I don't do it. I don't do things like that to get the good feeling, as much as it just feels like a better way to live to me. It feels like it's a more magical way to live. I feel like if we all live that way, then we wouldn't be suffering as much. We would trust that we're taken care of, that we've got each other. Like, we've kind of lost this whole tribal mentality as a species. Like, we're all on our own little individual islands, like screaming for mercy or help me here and help me there. And we're like, no, this is my land. And I put the stake and the flag in it, and fuck you if you don't, you know, like we got a lot of work to do as a species, for sure. But, you know, I'm kind of one of those people. I don't know if you read the book. It's by the author who wrote I think that he wrote The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and then his follow-up book of Everything is Fucked, a book about hope. You know,
his first book was actually called Models.
Oh, okay. But it's the same author, right?
Yeah. His first book was Models, which is phenomenal.
I haven't read that one. I'm gonna have to put that one on my list. You know, but we talk about all of the kind of the superstitions of humans and how, you know, we kind of need hope in a way. But I think, you know, that's just kind of like we're all out here doing our best. And my hope is that, you know, someone can either see my example or your example, or say like, hey, you can be sober and you can put down the drinks, and that doesn't mean anything. Like, we've kind of bought into this lie that it's cool to drink. I feel like we're in this like 1950s with cigarettes kind of thing, where like everybody's smoking and it's no big deal. And, you know, the doctors are like, my doctor recommends Camel cigarettes, you know, and it's just like, no, once we get more education around alcohol and whatnot, that, you know, people will start to make better choices for their health and their longevity. And they won't see, like, as more and more people, I was reading the sober, you know, the sober curious movement and things like that, and NA beverages. I was reading in National Geographic recently about the rise of sober tourism and sober travel and sober, all the things, right? And it's the industry, that niche has grown by 30% per year. And it's now like just NA Spirits is a 30% per year growth. And it's about at a $10 billion industry right now.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's encouraging to me, because my whole thing is like, hey, sober alternatives, where are we going to meet? Let's go to SunLife. That's, you know, these types of things, that are, you know, just alternatives for people, so that they don't get this like rock bottom of the bottom of the bottom. They can start making healthier choices and not go to this dramatic extreme. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and also if you go and you meet up with somebody for juices and smoothies and acai bowls, you're probably not going to get behind the wheel of a car and plow into a family of 5 and kill them. Like I said earlier, you're probably not going to sleep with your best friend's husband or wife because it seems like a great idea at the time. I mean, I was talking about this in my last healing session with Kimmy, like, and this is gray area because if anybody's new in recovery, they should not be messing around with anything with
Right.
kava or with kratom or with CBD, or I really feel like it's a super slippery slope for anybody because I mean, look, even at 20 years almost, I got those ketone IQs, which I love, right?
Yeah.
And there is nothing about them that are addictive. There's nothing about them that are detrimental. I mean, I love that product. I sell that product, but most people I think would have 1 or 2 of those a week, maybe. And I have 1 or 2 a day because I still have that addictive type personality. The difference between now and where I was at 18 months, I'd probably want to drink 10 of them a day, right? Because at 18 months, I wanted to escape from my existence. I was working a minimum wage job. I wasn't in a long-term committed relationship. My car sucked and was breaking down constantly. My boss was an asshole. If you're living like that, which most people are, right? I think 67% of the country has less than $1,000 in savings. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Imagine the pressure of that. So people are much, much, much more susceptible to a relapse, you know, when they're living like that. When I was told when I was newly sober that your disease is in the closet doing push-ups, man, and it doesn't get any easier. And, you know, I've been fucking sober for, 25 years and I still think about the taste of gin every day. I used to hear people talking like that. And I'm like, that can't be true. That can't be true. And if it is true, something's wrong.
Right.
I do not think about the taste of crack or heroin every day.
Right.
I cannot begin to tell you when the last time I thought about crack or heroin, unless someone said to me, "Hey, what was crack and heroin like?" Like, I don't want to escape anything. I want more of what I have. That comes with time. And that it was not like that until I would say up until I was still going to meetings religiously 10 years in. I think about 12, 13 years in, it started to be a couple of meetings a week.
Okay.
But I will tell you, with a couple of meetings a week, I could literally track, like if I went to a meeting, I'd get about 36 hours where I was free from untreated alcoholism. And then I would start to get dry and I would start to get aggressive and I would start to get angry.
Okay.
I would even have friends say, "Hey man, when's the last time you've been to a meeting?"
Interesting.
Meaning, why are you acting like such a fucking asshole?
Right.
It was about, I'd say 16 years in when I stopped for the most part going to meetings. I was still going to like 1 meeting a week. And life became really, really full and busy in an incredible relationship, which thank you God I'm still in. It's been 7.5 years. You know her well. And I was able to be of service in so many other ways versus what I was told, this is how you be of service. And thank God somebody said, this is how you be of service. Thank God I spent my first couple of years picking up the cigarette butts after the meetings. Thank God I got there a half hour before the meeting and I stayed a half hour late because that's what my fucking sponsor made me do. And my sponsor had me by the balls because I was homeless. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
So I went 30 minutes early. I stayed 30 minutes late. The cookie commitment that I had, I wasn't great at making coffee. I kind of fucked that commitment up a few times, but I got the cookie commitment
Okay.
at that Monday night men's stag meeting. And my sponsor saw me taking money at the end of the meeting, because that's what they would do. They would say, here you go, Khalil, you have the cookie commitment. Here's $10. Like, make sure you get here 30 minutes early and make sure you bring cookies, snacks, whatever.
Yeah.
And my sponsor was like, what are you doing? I'm like, what I'm told to do. And he goes, you have a job now. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, you get a paycheck. I'm like, yeah. He goes, leave the money in the basket for someone that's less fortunate. Take your own money. It's going to be much more powerful that way anyway. But take your own money and you go and do your cookie commitment. But here's what I want you to do. I don't want you getting those cheap, disgusting cookies that everybody puts at all the meetings. I want you to go and put snacks out there. Every week, I want you to get creative, and I want you to put different snacks out there. And it could be donuts, it could be fruit, it could be pizza, it can be Coca-Cola. And it didn't take long for me to sit in the back of the room, and they would bring in the druggy buggies from the Salvation Army. And I don't know if you know anything about their program, but you get a cot to sleep on, and you're in a room with a bunch of other men.
Okay.
And you're eating gruel, 3 hot meals a day. It's like being in prison, essentially.
Yeah.
It didn't take long for me to pick up on the reaction on these guys' face when they would see the strawberries or the blueberries or the donuts or whatever it was. And fuck, man, it lit me up. It lit me up in such a way. And that was sort of the beginning of understanding that it truly, there is no living a selfless existence. The happiness that I got was far greater than the happiness that they got. It got to the point where I was spending like $30, $40 at a time, and I didn't care. And then I taught other guys to do it as well. So it really is about getting back to our tribe.
Yes.
And being a part of our tribe, because that's where we come from. We're hunters and gatherers.
Yes.
And we got to take care of one another. Whatever you think, maybe I want you to call me a certain pronoun and you don't agree with that, and you don't have to call me that pronoun. I'm making examples up. I don't think you should call me a pronoun, but there are people that do think that I should call them a certain they, them, whatever. That doesn't mean I have to do it, but I do have to respect them. And I do have to be kind.
Right.
I do have to respect them. I do have to be kind. I don't have to date a trans woman in order to not be transphobic.
Right.
But I sure as fuck better be kind and loving and accepting.
Right.
So that's I think the future, and it's guys like us. It's our responsibility to get these people that are coming in with the arrow still in their back and teach them those types of things. Not just so we can be better as a society, but so we can also be really fucking happy and productive too.
I know, right? Imagine what a concept.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, are we going to be happy today? My thing is like, oh, don't be too happy. I'll say my shadow monster, I'll say, is this foreboding joy, right? Like, oh, don't get too happy, because if you get too happy, then it's really going to suck when you fall.
Right.
In the meantime, you just spend your existence just a little unhappy. I'm like, fuck that noise. I'd rather go down happy.
Exactly.
Then like, look into my crystal ball, and nobody fucking knows what tomorrow holds anyway, right? So giving ourselves permission to be happy, permission to be of service. And, that's one thing that I really, appreciate what you're up to and what you're up to creating. And I tell everyone to go to SunLife, who lives in Austin. I'm super excited. So you've got the Bee Cave one. Is that open now?
Yeah, Bee Cave's open and thriving. There's quite a community there. It's actually doing really, really well. I love it.
Awesome. I know one of my friends owns the Flippin' Art Gallery out in Bee Cave. I don't know where in Bee Cave you are, but she's in the Galleria.
We're right across the street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're right next to Alive and Well, which is an amazing like IV lounge and cryotherapy and all that stuff.
Nice, nice. Okay.
And Chicago's next. I think Chicago should be open by June.
Okay.
Uh, more in Florida coming. Um, Orange County, San Diego County coming. Oh, Nashville. We're gonna do Nashville. I think March, the first one in Nashville opens.
Okay.
And super excited about that. Um, kind of working on my third book, but not really.
Yeah. Uh-oh, what do we got? We got some Zen.
Rosewater.
Okay, I got to get you that what's it called? That Zen essence, Reverence it's called. Reverence, it's an aura cleansing mist. It's like cedar and sage or sage and
I
something.
think I have it.
Do you?
I think I have it. Yeah. Do they sell it at Hotel Magdalena?
I don't know if they sell it there or not.
I'm almost positive I have it. I don't know where it is. But yeah, it smells really earthy and really good, right?
Yeah, yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like, give me all the shit.
Everything. I burn my Palo Santo in the morning, and you know, I got my little like crystals everywhere. I always have this is adventurine here, and I'll just like place it on my sternum.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes take it in the sauna with me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think there's a limit to how good that we can feel. And I understand, you know, people in new sobriety. For me, it was just about maybe not smoking 20 cigarettes a day. Maybe I could smoke 15 instead.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really, really helpful information for me, because I would beat the shit out of myself for smoking. And I smoked my first 4 years of recovery, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, maybe don't smoke 20 cigarettes tomorrow. Maybe smoke 15, right? Maybe if you're looking at an hour of porn a day, try to only look at 30 minutes of porn.
I was going to say 59.
Or yeah, and then
1%, 1 minute.
Yeah, 1%, whatever gauge you want. But I mean, I look back at the things that I was doing in my early recovery, whether it was cigarettes or pornography or cheating or lying all the time. And the advice given to me was, you know, don't go home tomorrow and join the gym, quit smoking, stop looking at porn, and become a fucking monk. Just tomorrow, if you find that you're lying 10 times a day, you know, try to lie maybe 5 times a day. Yeah. If you're smoking a pack of cigarettes a day, try to cut it down to 15 cigarettes and eventually 10 cigarettes. And believe it or not, Casey, Case?
Yes, Case.
Case. Believe it or not, Case, I went from 20 to 15 and then 10 very quickly.
Okay.
And I smoked for 20 years. Going from 20 to 10 was actually almost effortless and happened quickly. I hung on to 10 for a while, for a couple of months. Yeah. And then I thought, well, fuck, I wonder if I could go down to 5. And again, not that difficult after a couple of months. And then from 5 to 3 was almost effortless. But I hung on to that fucking 3 for a long, like almost a year.
Okay.
I hung on to 3 cigarettes a day for almost a year. Because like morning, you know, coffee, cigarette.
Ex-smoker. So I get you. I'm an ex-smoker.
Oh, you know, yeah, you know. And then that last one of the evening, you know, whatever. And from 3 cigarettes to 1 was a little bit challenging.
Yeah.
It was a little bit challenging. It was I found myself a little bit like anxious. Mm-hmm. And then I was doing 1 for a couple of months, and I was dating somebody at the time, and she did not smoke. And I had to have my cigarette, and she showed up early. And I was like, oh, I'll be right back. I'm going to go talk to my sponsor. And I went downstairs, I smoked. I came through the back way. I took a shower. I brushed my teeth. And then she said, did you just smoke a cigarette?
Uh-oh.
I never smoked again.
Nice.
I never smoked again. So, and the pornography stuff was not a titrate. It wasn't titrating. It was somebody explaining to me that it was robbing me of my ability to ultimately live the life that I wanted to live, which didn't make sense. But then they told me to read Think and Grow Rich, where they talk about sexual transmutation,
Yes.
and where that is your life force. And
Yes.
if you're gonna throw that life force down the shower drain every morning or in the sink or whatever, then that is the force that you could be using to build the financial independence that will eventually get you that house, get you that car, get
Right.
you that ability to, if I wanted to stop working right now, I could stop working right now. If I wanted to go take a year off, I could go take a year off. Most people couldn't take a month off. In fact, most people aren't prepared for any type of basic emergency where they would need to, not be able to go to work for a month or two.
Right.
I was told that, and when it was framed to me in that way, I was like, oh, so this isn't like a moral thing, which, by the way, 15 years later, it is a moral thing for me. But back then,
Yeah.
it was more about like, I wanted abundance and prosperity in my life.
Yes.
And so, no, I don't think there's any limit to how great we can feel. And I don't want anybody who's new thinking like, well, I'm not going to stop smoking, or I'm not going to stop looking at porn. You don't have to.
Right.
But for God's sakes, stick with the program. Don't drink, don't use, one day at a time.
Yeah, it's just one day at a time notion. I think it's like balancing this because I've got, like a 28-day mindset reset, and I've got 7-day, the 21-day, 30-day, 28, 40-day. I am one who I'm very like motivated by these 30-day challenges, 21-day, 40-day. I just completed, you mentioned the no sex thing. I did a 40-day no sex of any kind, no masturbation, no sex, no nothing. And I'd actually done that twice before. And so this was my third time. And my intention with it was just pattern interrupt. Like post breakup, this is what I'm like. I'm not going to go down the like just the hookup horror route. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I was just like, I've done that. I know what I get. I know that's predictable. And so the only way to give ourselves a life that is, that is unpredictable, but in a good way, is to do something that we've never done before, to always question like, hey, if something is not working, how do we recreate, or how do we do something, and it is that doing something new. It is, going from 20 cigarettes to 15 to 10 to 5. Like that's the only way that we're going to create something new. So
no judgment, but I mean, I will tell anybody out there, because it's been 16 years since I've had a cigarette. When I walk past somebody smoking now, I can't believe it. I don't judge them, but I judge myself. Like, what in the fuck were you thinking? Like, you know me and you follow me, so now at 53 years old, I just for the first time ever ran 18.3 miles. I sprinted 18 miles an hour. I sprinted 18 miles an hour at 53 years old. I couldn't have run or sprinted 8 miles an hour at 23 years.
How long did you sprint at that speed?
Not long. It was about a 30-second sprint where I could see it going up 13, 14, 15, 16. And I had gotten to 17 before. 17 is where I plateaued for the last 6 months. And last time I trained with Kelly, 18.3 miles an hour.
That's amazing.
And
congratulations.
It is amazing to be in the greatest shape that I've ever been in my life. I've put on 17 pounds of muscle in the last 2 years. I've lost 1.5 inches off my waistline, and I owe it to myself to do that. I owe it to my partner to do that. And I'm much more productive and I feel much better. And by the way, I'm just scratching the surface.
That's right, you are.
Yeah.
Just getting started, my friend. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad we finally got a chance to connect. I was not giving up on this motherfucker.
Don't give up. I'm difficult. I'm a little squirrely and a little slippery, but when it finally came down to it, here I am.
For sure. Well, I'm gonna put in all your links so everybody can, follow you and connect with you. And, if there's any, like, where can we connect with you on your website? Because I know it goes right to the
website's sort of hokey. I mean, at one point I was building it out and it was going to be amazing, and then I just gave up on it. Everybody DMs. It seems to be how everybody communicates. Everybody just DMs. So that seems to be the best way to connect with me. I do get emails sometimes from people, usually in another language, usually asking me to buy them a house or something. Wish I was joking.
Wow.
But DMs are the best.
Yeah.
Instagram's the best.
Yeah. Well, I love following you on Instagram as well, and I love that I got to bump into you at SunLife, and I still owe you an acai bowl. So
let's do it.
Let's do it. Are you in 704 in Austin? What part of Austin are you in? East side?
I'm right by Barton Springs, 78704.
Okay, so you are in 04. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm
like a mile from the shop.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm on the other side of near Woodland and 35.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, man, let's do it. And I'm so glad we got a chance to connect today. And it's super, super helpful for any guys who are just, wanting to make that just incremental change, and that's
easy. Anybody can do it. I promise.
Day at a time, my friend. All right, my friend. Well, thank you again. Don't hold on for 1 second. And I'm going to say bye to you twice. So hold on 1 sec. Thank you so much, Khalil.
Of course.